Welcome into our Saints post-game show. I'm Erin Summers. Not the way we wanted things to end today as the Saints fall 10-7 to the Carolina Panthers, but they definitely win on a really good stretch to close out the season. 3-1 in the final 4 games post that Week 14 bye. A lot of positives that came out of things towards the end of the season, especially the way that the Saints defense was able to play. In this game, things started out really well. The Saints offensively on their first possession, opening drive, drove down the field, 8 plays, 75 yards, ending in a 25-yard touchdown to wide receiver Chris Olave. That gave Olave over 1,000 receiving yards in his rookie season. He joins Marcus Colston and Michael Thomas as the only Saints wide receivers as rookies to hit that mark. So great honors for Olave, someone who didn't play every single game this season due to different injuries. So it's good to see him get over 1,000 in his rookie season. Definitely good things to come for that rookie. Another rookie that was able to get on the field in a starting role for the first time this season was left tackle Trevor Penning. He'd been used as a jumbo tight end in some of their offensive packages after missing a lot of the season due to an injury that he suffered in the last preseason game. He was really excited about getting that first start today, and he did well in his time there. Not a usual position that he'd been playing this season, but he's able to get some reps in at left tackle throughout practice this week and slide in at the end there. So good to see Penning getting on that action. I'm sure there'll be more to come from him next season as well. Rashid Shaheed, another rookie that has performed very well through the end of the season here. And then Saints running back Alvin Kamara had one of his best games. In fact, he was over 100 yards, 107 rushing yards in this game, which is his season high. He had 103 on the ground against the Seahawks back in Week 5, so it was definitely his best game on the ground this season. It's good to see him hit that mark. He now has over 1,300 yards from scrimmage for the season, which is his 6th consecutive season where he's hit over 1,300 yards from scrimmage. He's the first person to record that feat since wide receiver Julio Jones, who did it from 2014 to 2019. So Alvin Kamara, even though he probably didn't get the season that he would consider his best, as he didn't get into the end zone as many times as I'm sure he would like to, he definitely is still producing as far as the yards go. After that opening drive, though, the Saints had a hard time getting any sustained drives going. They were getting down close to the red zone, but unable to ever really get in the red zone and get in for a score. Will Lutz missed an early field goal and then missed a late field goal from pretty far out, 55 yards, near the end of the game. It came down to really the last few minutes of play. With just under 2 minutes, it looked like the Panthers were driving, were going to get that final score, and then Saints safety Daniel Sorensen stepped up with a big interception. That gave the Saints the ball for another attempt at the end of the game to break the tie. At that point, it was 7-7, but the Panthers were able to get a stop, get the ball back, and then they kicked that last-second field goal for the win. So the Panthers get this W 10-7 over the Saints. There are a couple other milestones that were hit in this one for rookie wide receiver Chris Olave. He now has the second most receiving yards during a rookie campaign in Saints history. So he passed Marcus Colston, who had 1,038. Michael Thomas sits at 1,137, so maybe Olave could have hit that mark if he was able to play in every game this season. But again, looks like it's going to be a promising future for Chris Olave. Defensive tackle Shai Tuttle set a new career high as well in tackles with 49 at one point. His previous career high was 48. I'm not sure what his final was, but I know that he was over 48, which he set last year, because at one point during the game he was at 49. And then Tyrann Mathieu had a big interception. Daniel Sorensen got his second. It was Tyrann Mathieu's third. So the production as far as turnovers started to increase as the season went on. We were talking to defensive end Cam Jordan earlier this week, and he said he just felt like the Saints defensively had to clean up some of those mistakes, some of the miscues early in the season with the turnovers, the penalties. He said once they were able to correct some of those little things, the attention to detail, then they started playing Saints ball as far as the defense goes. So it's good to see the Saints defense getting their rhythm going towards the end of the season. Offensively, quarterback Andy Dalton started the day really well with he went 4 of 4 during that opening drive. It's a very balanced opening drive. I almost fumbled there. So I try to work between different screens with one hand. Trying to look up final stats, but the opening drive for the Saints was really balanced as Dalton went 4 of 4, but there was 4 pass plays, 4 rushing plays. So they started out things really well. End of the day for Dalton, though, he went 15 of 25 for 171 yards and that 1 touchdown. Chris Olave ended with 5 receptions, 60 yards, and the touchdown, the 25-yard reception for the touchdown being his longest reception on the day. Rashid Shaheed ended the day with 3 receptions for 34 yards. And then there was a lot of other players that got in on the action. David Johnson, Juwan Johnson, Adam Troutman, Traquan Smith, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, all catching passes as well. Marquez Callaway also getting in on the stats. Alvin Kamara leading the rushers with 107 yards, as I mentioned, on 23 attempts. Taysom Hill had 24 yards on 5 attempts. He was used a lot as a quarterback, taking the direct snap on some of his runs. Rashid Shaheed took a handoff for 7 yards. Benjamin used a couple times, and then Andy Dalton actually did have a 4th and 1 QB sneak that was successful. The Saints had to challenge it, but it ended up being a successful QB sneak from Dalton. Defensively, it was Demario Davis who came up big. He had a sack at the end of the first half, which ended the first half and the Panthers' drive. He ended up with 3 tackles, 5 assisted, and then so that's 8 total combined tackles. As I mentioned, Daniel Sorensen and Tyrann Mathieu with the interceptions. Matthew also with 8 combined tackles on the day. Definitely a couple tough moments in this game. I'm sure the Saints would like to get a few plays back. They were having a hard time stopping the Panthers' run as the game went on. Offensively for the Panthers, they really didn't do much through the air. Sam Darnold only having 22 total yards on the day when all was said and done. Clearly, they did not do much there in the past game. We're going to head into the press room and hear from head coach Dennis Allen.
With exception of the scoreboard, and we had some opportunities, we didn't take advantage of it, and so it's what happens when you don't take advantage of your opportunities. You let a team hang around, and we let these guys hang around, and they kept fighting, and they had an opportunity to win it at the end.
Coach, defensively, you guys looked pretty solid throughout the game. Offensively, in the second half, was it just the effort of some players? Was it the play calling? Just if you wouldn't mind talking about that.
Yeah, look, I think there was some miscommunication on a couple of things. I thought there were a couple times Andy got a little pressure. I thought there was a couple times there was a miscommunication or a misread in terms of the passing game. We didn't catch the ball like we needed to catch the ball. I think there was a multitude of things. I don't know that it was effort. But we certainly didn't execute very well.
Why do you think you guys maybe weren't able to take advantage of some of the opportunities early when you were moving the ball well? Like, was there any commonalities there?
I think we got to go back and look at it. I mean, look, we missed a field goal and we fumbled twice in scoring. Fumbled in scoring position, missed a field goal, and then had one block there at the end. So I thought we executed poorly, obviously, in that last series after the interception. You got the ball in a potential field goal position, and we went nowhere and then had the field goal block. That was a bad series.
Chris Olave broke 1,000 yards receiving today as a rookie. What has impressed you the most this season out of him?
Yeah, he's been the same guy each and every week. He's highly talented. He's got a lot of things that he's got to continue to work on to get better at. I think there's a lot of growth left in that player, and we're expecting to see a lot of growth in that player. So certainly, good start, but not near where he can be. And I think he's got to have a good offseason so that we can take that next step to develop into the type of receiver that I think he really can be.
I know the season just ended, but you won 3 of your last 4. You finished strong, but overall, how would you characterize this season?
Look, I think challenging. I mean, we obviously didn't win as many games as we would have liked to. I thought our guys fought and battled. I thought they overcame some adversity. There's a handful of games there that, I feel like if we would have been able to make a couple of critical plays, that those games would have, the outcome of those games could have been different. And then I think we're talking a little bit differently in here. So, but that's the nature of the game that we play, and so we've got to find a way to be able to make the critical plays in the critical situations to give ourselves a chance to win the game.
Dennis, after the way you guys played the last 3, how disappointing would you say this one was?
Yeah, I'd say it was disappointing. I think I'd say it's disappointing because, in terms of moving the ball and yardage gained, I thought statistically we had an advantage. I felt like defensively we played a solid game today. I don't think we tackled as well as we can. But yet I thought we made some plays, a couple of takeaways, and yet we weren't able to capitalize on some of those things. And so that was the frustrating thing. That's what was disappointing.
Coach, can you explain what you were trying to do on that last offensive series?
Well, we were hoping to be able to convert the first down, get ourselves into a more manageable field goal position. We got behind the sticks a little bit. We'd been rushing the ball really well. I think we were averaging 4 point something a carry. So we felt like we could run the ball a little bit. We felt like we could utilize some of their timeouts. We had a little bit of a misread there at the end in the ball to Olave. It was a sloppy series. And we didn't execute very well there.
Coach, you spoke about how challenging this season was. As a teacher, what life lessons do you share with the team to take into the offseason?
Well, I think the life lesson is you only get so many opportunities in life at success, and you have to take advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves. And so, I think the other life lesson is that the strongest people are the ones that can, persevere through whatever adversity is thrown at you, whether it be injuries, losses, personal issues in your own life, and I think our group is tough-minded in that regard, and I think that's going to serve us well as we move forward.
Two parts. When you say misread, missed opportunity, there was also the other deep ball that kind of looked like there wasn't a receiver in sight. That falls into that category too, or?
Yeah, it was a little double move pump. I'm not sure exactly what happened on that play. But Andy obviously left the ball inside and Olave was outside. So, look, those are all things that we'll discuss as a staff and, see where we got to be better.
And then just in general, I know this is going to be an off-season long search through this, but what stands out as what you think this offense was lacking, or what you need to find for this offense on a more consistent basis? Well,
certainly there's probably a better time for us to answer that question in terms of what we need going forward, in the off season. But Mickey and I will sit down, this next week. We'll talk about a lot of different things. We'll evaluate our program from top to bottom, and then we'll make whatever adjustments we need to make, and then we'll have a plan moving forward.
Dennis, would you expect that this offseason there are going to be more roster changes, more personnel changes than maybe this team has experienced in the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, look, certainly when we've got these magnets up on our board that have our depth chart, and a red magnet means that he's an unrestricted free agent, and certainly there's a lot of those red magnets up there. So, look, we know in the business of pro football there's always change. So there'll be change. To what extent, I think, those are decisions that we're going to have to come up with over the next week or two.
You were talking about roster changes, but what about potential coaching changes after you largely kept
Yeah,
the same
I think
staff?
again, like I just said, we're going to evaluate everything, and so nobody's making any decisions on anything 30 minutes after we walked off the field. So there'll be time to evaluate those things, and we'll see what we need to do to give ourselves the best opportunity as we go forward.
Regarding the game, what were your thoughts on the Davenport ejection?
I didn't see exactly, was it a closed fist? Was it, a punch? It certainly looked to me like, Marcus, gave him a little slap or something. I don't know exactly what happened. So my thoughts are I don't ever want us to be put in that position.
Dennis, can you take us through the week on DeMar Hamlin? What was it like, seeing it, hearing it, and then hearing him getting him, being improved and all that?
Yeah, I'd say it was a challenging week for a lot of people. And again, like I said, what our guys go through, what our guys put themselves through to do the job that they do, and to see something as traumatic as that happen, I think is tough to deal with. But yet, as the week went on, you began to get more and more encouraging news about DeMar's health, and so I think that was, kind of an uplifting thing towards the end of the week.
Coach, could you explain, or I guess that's one of the things you'll do in the off season, the inability to win these close games as a coach who's been in the league a long time? Is that a bit of a head scratcher to you?
No, I'm not going to say that it's a head scratcher. I can tell you that, like, there's a handful of plays in each and every game that you're going to look back at the end of the game and you're going to say that was the determining factor. All right, so is it a head? No, the head scratcher is we didn't make those critical plays at the critical moments when we needed to, and so now, how do you get to the point where you're making those plays? That's what we've got to challenge ourselves in the off season to figure that out.
I know all season long people want to know more about you and how you operate and things like that. Do you want to be kind of introspective for a few days and kind of figure out and talk to Mickey, or are you kind of, the season didn't go the way you wanted to and you just can't wait to get back to work and kind of grind it out? Just kind of where do you fall as far as when the season didn't turn out the way you want?
Well, a little bit of both, right? I mean, I think it's a long season, and certainly it's a long off season, and so I think it's twofold. I think it's good to have a couple of days to really sit back and reflect on the good, the bad, and the ugly from the season, and then once you've had a chance to sit back and reflect on that, then it's all about getting a plan in place to fix issues, and that's exactly what we'll do.
I know it's tight here to the end of the game, but you had Trevor Penning getting his first starts at left tackle. Unfortunately, had to leave early with injury, but how do you feel from what you saw from him today?
Look, it's probably not fair for me to give you an assessment of his play, although, just off the cuff, I was encouraged by a few things that I saw. I still saw some of the, effort plays down the field and things of that nature. So that was good to see. But in terms of giving you a real good evaluation of the player, I think it's better to watch the tape, and then I can probably give you a better idea.
These last two games, the second half, it feels like it's been so much harder on offense to move the ball. You're kind of starting hot. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I think the reason is just execution. I don't think we executed as good as we needed to in the second half of the game, and so we've got to be better there.
all season you've had highs and lows, but you've been the same. You've been even keel with us after games. Is that, as a leader, something you take pride in, or is that something you try to be aware of? Or?
Well, I just think that's my personality, you know. But yeah, I mean, you know, I have the highs and lows. I just probably don't live that out in front of you guys as much as everybody else. But yeah, this is an emotional game. But yet, you know, you got to kind of keep your head on you so you can make good decisions.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I know the season just ended. Ups and downs. How would you characterize this year, looking back?
You know, obviously we, you know, felt like, you know, we were a playoff team. You know, feel like we dropped a lot of games, you know, early on in the season. Felt like the second half of the season was much better, especially defensively. You know, I think, you know, we really came together. You know, I thought we finished the season out, you know, fairly strong as well. Most definitely, you know, I think we would have liked to win, you know, more games.
At what point in the season did you feel like you had a full grasp of the system and you were in sync in terms of how you normally play?
I think probably, you know, it's probably fair to say, you know, maybe midway, you know, through the season. You know, took a lot of punches, you know, early on in the year, but you know, I've been doing this a long time, so, you know, you just keep coming to work, you know, keep trying to get better, you know, and just, you know, stick with your teammates through it all. So, you know, I felt like I did that for the most part, and, you know, felt like I finished the season, you know, fairly strong.
I know we're coming off of a loss in this game, but you coming back to the city of New Orleans, you've finished this first season now. What can you say about your return here to the city?
It's been a blessing. You know, a lot of home-cooked meals. You know, just, you know, bumping into people that, you know, I haven't seen in years. You know, I just saw one of my uncles working at the gate, you know, before the game, and I hadn't seen him since, you know, my Willie Hall days. So, you know, definitely grateful, you know. You know, had a chance to play with a lot of guys that, you know, I've always admired, you know, from DeMario to Alvin, you know, Lat, Cam. So, you know, a lot of great figures, you know, for New Orleans. So, you know, it's been a blessing for me, you know, definitely humbling for sure.
You signed a multi-year deal, so you'll be here next year. Do you look at this team and see a team that can ascend quickly with the talent that you all have there? There's change in every team every year, but nonetheless, there's still going to be core pieces there.
Yeah, you know, I think with the way we finished the season, you know, this year, you know, I think it's a lot of positive momentum, you know, for us. You know, and it's a lot of motivation as well, you know, going into the off season. So, you know, I think, you know, each man individually, you know, just has to commit to that, you know, going forward. But I do believe that, and I personally believe that, you know, we do have a, you know, a pretty good football team. It didn't always look like that throughout the season, but, you know, I think we all kind of bonded together, came together, you know, and coaches as well. You know, I felt like as the season went along, you know, we began to play harder, you know, not just for each other, but for our coaches as well. So, you know, I think all of those things are positives.
A few weeks ago, I asked you the question about the lack of turnovers. In the last few weeks, you all have really picked it up, starting to, you know, force turnovers, especially you being the leader on that. Can you talk about, you know, what the stigma is from the defensive backfield and how y'all made that start to work?
Well, you know, I think coming into the season, you know, I think we realized that, you know, we're a really talented group. And I think we all had kind of, you know, high expectations to, you know, not just lead our team in turnovers, but be, you know, one of the leaders, you know, in turnovers, you know, with the whole NFL. And, you know, the ball doesn't always bounce your way. But, you know, like I said, we just continue to come to work, you know, each and every day. You know, our coaches continue to coach us the same way. And, you know, if you just stick with something long enough, you know, the ball will tend to bounce your way, you know, here and there. But, It's definitely a positive, being able to create turnovers, give your offense short fields. And it's usually like a team, morale booster as well, anytime you're able to kind of make those plays. So, hopefully, we can make, a lot more of those plays, next year.
Coach says that besides finishing some tackles, aside from just finishing some tackles, that you all played well defensively today. What do you make of today's defensive performance, especially when Carolina's passing there?
Well, I think coming into the week, us, as a secondary, I think we kind of understood we were like, 2 or 3, as far as like, passing yards allowed per game. So, we just set a goal for ourselves that, we weren't going to let these guys throw for more than, 120. Obviously, throwing the ball wasn't in their game plan. I felt like those guys stuck with the run a lot more, but, I think it's always a good feeling, when you can hit a goal that you set for yourself or for your unit, so, I feel like all of us kind of covered well, played hard. Roby made some good plays, obviously Lat and Lante, but, just felt like we came together, as far as that goes today.
What's the biggest thing that you think you guys as a team will carry over from this year into next year?
Oh, man. Just starting the right way. Like I said, I felt like early in the season we let a few games get away from us, games that we felt like we were in control of. I could probably name 4 or 5 of those games, where, if one of us makes a tackle or, one of us makes the play, we win that game. So, it's high expectations and it's high standards, but, I think we're all capable of it. So, I'll probably say just not pressing as much, to start the season, just kind of letting it all flow and letting it all come together. But, definitely, like I said earlier, it's a lot of motivation for us, because a lot of games we lost, we weren't out those games. We had a chance to win them. So, it's just kind of keeping that in your mind, as you're working out this off season, coming back in OTAs, just trying to keep that spirit, high as you can.
Hey, Tyron, how frustrating has that been, though, just being so close in so many games?
It's definitely frustrating. I think, each man in that room, coaches including, none of us, likes to lose, but like I said, it's a lot of positive that, we could take from this season, from those losses. And yeah, I think it's a lot of motivation. So, sometimes, you have to go through these kind of things to kind of, see your potential and like see your true self. So, we had our fair share of adversity, this season. And I think it's gonna make gold out of us, So, we just got to believe in that.
Tyron, we kind of talked about this earlier this week, but do you feel like you were starting to make the Tyron Matthew type of plays? I mean, you had a pick today and the forced fumble down by the goal line. Do you feel like you're kind of starting to find it toward the end of the season?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, every now and then the ball has to, bounce your way. Quarterbacks have to, throw it at you and give you an opportunity to make a play. But, I think as the season went on, I just stopped pressing. I think, you want to be able to make every play and make every tackle, and sometimes you make none. And so, I think, a lot of times you just have to let the game come to you, and not try to, press it or rush it. So, I thought as the season went on, I was kind of able to, do a better job of that. And, my coaches and teammates were like always encouraging, as well, too. So, I think all of that kind of helped me.
Cam, 2 years in a row, you don't get where you want to go. Just your thoughts on how it ended and
thoughts on how this game ended seemed to depict the Saints' season entirely. Chances to score, we didn't. Chances to make a big play, a couple tackles missed. Ebbs and flows. Team never gives up, fighting, but when you let a team last till the end of the quarter, or end of the fourth quarter, and end up getting beat in the fourth, how many games have we seen that this year? There's, like I said, it just seemed like the games we lost, this is exactly how it happened. You let somebody who shouldn't have been in the race stay in the race, and that's how you end up losing.
Do you see a good team in there? Obviously, there's change every year, but do you still look in that locker room and say,
Easily.
Yeah.
I mean, easily. You can look at players that have, made strides in the defense or on the offensive side of the ball. We have good players. We have got some potential great players in this locker room. And again, in the wins, you see a lot of what we needed to do. Time of possession, getting to the red zone, score. Team gets into a red zone, whatever it is, big plays are made on defense. It's got to go both ways. I think that there's a lot of potential in our locker room. We didn't capitalize on potential each and every game, and there's nobody else you can blame for except us. I don't think, albeit maybe one game, there was a chance for us to say, hey, we actually got beat this game. I think each and every game we've had some sort of control on it, some sort of ability to take control of the game. And when we didn't capitalize, we end up losing. And that's what happens. You have to be able to capitalize on every opportunity.
Cam, after a season this challenging, what would be your biggest motivations this offseason?
To win a Super Bowl. What do you mean? To come back this offseason, after this offseason, to come back, rally everybody who's a part of our team, who ends up on the 53-man roster this next year, eradicate those mistakes of penalties that ruin drives or extended drives, ruin drives on our offense or extended drives on our defense side of the ball, and put together phenomenal games each and every time you touch the film. I mean, every time you touch the field, it's always the idea that we're going to play a perfect game, but it's impossible to play a perfect game, isn't it? But we can all strive for perfection.
Cam, how weird was today's game? Just when it seemed like they didn't even bother to try to pass the ball for most of the game.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, I think, did a good job of getting out of the pocket, clearly. And when he was rolling out of the pocket, he wasn't completing anything. He started making plays with the feet down the field. They became more effective on the ground than clearly through the air. I don't know what it was. They had under 75 yards going into halftime. I'm talking about total offense. And then you come out and lose a game in the second half. That's irksome. That's probably going to peeve me the most going into this game, going into this offseason, knowing that our last game we should have beat the brakes off somebody and didn't. And I don't have any right to say we should have, because we did not. Shoulda, woulda, always is never coulda.
Cam, you mentioned the motivation going into the offseason, but what's the message that you share with your teammates as you close out this year? Take it to the
offseason. Let this loss burn. There's nothing to be proud of going 7-10. Not making the playoffs for the second time in a row. Let it burn. Let it stay in your mind. Let it simmer. Let it carry over into your workouts. Let it carry over into whatever you got to do to get your mind right. Take some time, heal your body, and at the same time, let it be not even at the back of your mind. Let it be at the front of your mind. We have to be able to come in and take command from jump. You think about the entire season, what happens. I think defense made some plays, but if there's plays to be made, we can always make more. I think that, early on this first half of the season, we didn't have enough turnovers. I think early on, whatever it was, we were working on some things. Second half of the season, you saw a completely different energy around the team, and that's the energy you need from jump. Not to finish the way we wanted, it's going to be irksome for a while.
Since mid-November, you guys defensively have not given up more than 20 points in a game for the last 5 or 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a sense of urgency from y'all? Is that something that you can build on?
I wish that was the energy we brought from September on. Again, if there's plays to be made, we have to capitalize on those opportunities. November on, I'm not going to say there's a turning point in there. We just knew that we had to be more than what we were. And albeit we fought back from 3 and whatever we were to 7. Is that a pat on the back? We're not looking for anything more than trying to get a win each and every game. So we failed to reach our potential this season. There's no shortcomings about that. All we have is to look at ourselves this offseason, figure out how we can get better rapidly, and come back with a vengeance this upcoming wherever.
Cam, do you feel like you guys are close or maybe a little bit further away?
I'm always thinking we're close. I'm always thinking that my team is going to win. There's not been a game, a play, a drive, a series that I don't believe in what our offense is doing, what our defense is doing, what our special teams doing. I still think we got some of the best special teams players in the nation. I still think we have potential in our offense to when we really clicked, it was lights out. I still think that, our defensive side of the ball stepped up in a big way, and if we could do that from jump, there should be nobody that would be messing with us. I think that in each and one of these games, again, we have been in position to win them. It's not like we're down 2-3 touchdowns, losing by 30, 40 points or whatever it is. These are games that are coming down to one possession. I think if you look at the 10 games, I don't know how many of them were more than one possession switches. We can go all the way back to London. I mean, this is on us. It's always going to be on us.
Do you, you've missed the playoffs back-to-back years. There potentially could be, there's changes every year, but there could be changes. Would any change surprise you via player, coach, anything, after 2 non-playoff seasons?
No, not at all. I mean, you see locker rooms change after a winning season. You see locker rooms for sure change after a devastating losing season. Part of this game is not knowing what's going to happen next season. That's why you have to cherish the locker room that you're in now. That's why you have to cherish the time you're able to get on the field. That's why each and every one of these plays is that much more important, because you don't know when it's going to be the last. If you never strap up again, did you play to your fullest potential? Did you give everything you had? That's for each individual player. I mean, the mortality of football is real. You go into the offseason thinking you're okay, but you could end up on a different team. You could end up on whatever the next plan is. You never know God's plan. You just have to work your butt off and make sure you're capitalizing on each opportunity He gives us. And that's from year 1 to year 12. Locker room is always going to change. That's from, you see superstars across the league get traded or whatever it is, cut, traded, end up to another team, demand a trade, whatever that is. You see coaches who say they're going to be there, end up retiring or wanting out or whatever it is. There's always going to be a locker room change. I can't say that we're all going to be back together. I can tell you that I'm going to bring the same mindset that I've always brought to the offseason, is relax, heal, spend time with the family, refocus, hone in, get back to football, and try and dominate each time you touch the field.
Andy, what can you put your finger on as kind of a pattern of hot starts and kind of, having trouble moving the ball in the third quarter and later in games?
Yeah, I mean, you can't put your finger on one thing. The way we started this game, I mean, exactly how you want to start. It's a couple weeks in a row to have a strong first drive, getting the touchdown, and we had opportunities at other points in the game too, and we just didn't able to take advantage of them. Didn't make the play when we needed to, and I mean, at the end of the day, that hurt us. I felt like we should have come in at halftime in that game. The score should have looked a lot different than what it did.
Can you detail the 2 deep balls where there wasn't a receiver in the area? Was that the idea on both plays to go deep, and then what didn't happen on both of those?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple chances where I have to get the ball out of my hands quicker than I'd like to, and taking shots down the field. I mean, it's what we were trying to do on those certain plays, and so sometimes, I mean, when you have to get the ball out of your hands before you want to, I mean, the ball's not always going to be exactly, you can't see exactly where they're coming out of the route and all that kind of stuff.
So the idea is you threw to a spot, hoping the receiver would go there, you just didn't know where.
There's an adjustment. I mean, it depends on how they're playing, the route. I mean, they can take different angles and different things, and so, yeah, that's.
Well, that was going to be what I was asking about, but I don't know if this is fair to ask, like an hour after the season ended, but like how did this season unfold for you? I know it wasn't exactly what you were anticipating here, but have you thought about it at all? I guess throughout the run of it.
Yeah, obviously this isn't. When I signed to come here, the expectation wasn't to play. And then when I got my opportunity, I felt like I was ready. I felt like I took advantage of it. I felt like I helped this team, and I put some good stuff out there that allowed them to continue to have faith in me as to be the guy leading this team, leading this offense. And so I think what we're going to do now that the season is over, we're going to look back, and this today was another perfect example of it, and look back to the several plays in the games that we lost that we could say, man, if we would have made that play, if we would have made this one play, then the game would have been a whole lot different. And that's the reason why we're sitting here at 7-10, not in the playoffs. And I think just kind of moving forward, the mindset that we have to find ways to win those close games. Because the good teams that make it to the playoffs are winning those games. And, you know, for me, I'll do the same thing. I'm going to go back and look at everything that I did this year, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that I felt like I did really good, and there's going to be a couple things I'm going to say, you know what, I can play smarter at certain times.
I know that it's not something you'll be able to answer now, but talking about next season and ahead, Dennis Allen earlier this week spoke very highly of you. The process for you to engage them with your team, wait till they engage you. I know it's early, but just kind of the mindset as you will approach the off season, having finished this year as the starter here.
Yeah, you know, I have really enjoyed my time here in New Orleans. I feel like working with this group of coaches, being on this team with this this group, I've had a lot of fun this year. And so as this off season gets going, we'll kind of let the whole process take care of itself, and there'll be communication back and forth, and we'll just see how it goes from there. Thanks.
That was Saints head coach Dennis Allen and several players speaking with head coach Dennis Allen. Coach will speak again tomorrow to the media around 12 o'clock, so you can stay tuned to our website, NewOrleansSaints.com, to check that out and hear from some other players tomorrow as well before they head off for the off season. And speaking of the postseason, getting a full look here now at the AFC. The Chiefs did clinch that #1 spot. The Bills are second, Bengals third. Jacksonville got 4. The Chargers are in at 5, Ravens 6, and then the Dolphins got that 7th seed, the wild card spot, with the win over the Jets today. There are still a few spots open in the NFC. Looks like Eagles got the #1, Vikings 2, 49ers 3, Bucks 4, Cowboys 5, Giants 6, and then Seahawks still in the hunt, Lions, Packers also in the hunt. The Lions and the Packers are the night game tonight, so we're going to have to wait a little bit longer before all of the playoff spots are secured across the league. For the Saints, however, they end this season 7-10. Not the season that anybody expected heading into this year. There were a lot of injuries and a lot of other variables that came into play throughout the season, but they did end on a good stretch, going 3-1 after that Week 14 bye. It's been a great season being here for all of you, for everybody that helps out with this show. I really appreciate all the work that's gone into it, and thank you, all the Saints fans, for tuning in every week for our pre- and post-game show. We'll be back with more coverage, of course, all off-season long, starting with head coach Dennis Allen tomorrow. It's a 10-7 final here as the Panthers take this last game at home. Thanks for joining us. I'm Erin Summers. Have a great rest of the weekend.